Hi guys, welcome to another audio video, and I'll be reading 1 Samuel 18 of the King James Version Bible. And it reads, And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him, and he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand, as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. But all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, Behold, my elder daughter Merab, her will I give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. And David said unto Saul, Who am I? And what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass, at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel the Maholathite to wife. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake these words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and lightly esteemed? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, On this manner spake David. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, The king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskin of the Philistines to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, and that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much said by. Alright guys, so I don't know if y'all realized what's happening here, but as we can see, that serpent called jealousy has just crept in, because one, Jonathan, Saul's son, who was basically supposed to inherit the kingdom in Saul's eyes, loved David. The Lord was with David, and the Lord had departed from Saul. The people loved David because they were praising him, saying that he had killed 10,000 and Saul only killed thousands. And not only that, but all the servants of Saul and all his people loved David because the Lord was with him, and everyone had him in high esteem, even though he thought he was not in high esteem, just to show that he was humble. And every time that Saul devises something, try to come up with something cunning to try and kill David or get David killed, it has turned out that David had behaved wisely. What does that mean? It meant that in his dealings, he was cunning, he was smart. He did not do things out of anger. He did not do things just impromptu. He thought of how he would carry out each mission that he did. And even when Saul had told him that if he wanted to marry Michal, then he would actually have to kill 100 Philistines and bring their foreskin, he did that. David went and he carried out the task, and he was not boastful or anything. He just knew that the Lord was with him, and so long as the Lord was with him, then he would prevail. And he went ahead and he accomplished the task twice over. And so we see where he actually gained his bride, Michal. And not only that, the people continued to hold him in high esteem, and that's only because the Lord was with him. And even everything, we see that everything that Saul actually tried to put together to plot David's demise, then what happened was that the Lord used it to basically glorify David more in the eyes of the people. Can you imagine? He sent his daughter Michal to actually try and derail David. Okay? He basically tried to set her in the house of her husband against her husband. But she loved David. That was what was placed in her heart for David, love. And so Saul was even more angered by that, because everything that he tried to do, that he plotted to ensure David's demise, did not happen, did not take place. And listen to me, that is what God is doing in your life. If you allow Him, that is what He will do in your life. He will let your enemies, every plot of your enemies, turn around in your favor. I mean, when I think about it, it's just an awesome thought, because to know that I have a God, a true and living God, that is there for me, that is working things that my enemies plot for my demise in my favor, turning them around in my favor, that gives me comfort, that gives me peace. And with that, guys, I will leave you and I will tell you that you, with God, in the midst of your storm, your trials, they will become triumphs. Whatever obstacles that you see, they will become opportunities. This is not a SWOT analysis, but guys, I'm telling you, that's just how the Lord works. When you live for God, He works for you. So I'm encouraging you today to live for the Lord so that He will work for you and work in your favor. Have yourselves a blessed day, guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification so you're alerted whenever a new audio video is posted. And guys, please don't forget to leave your thoughts, your comments, and your revelations down below in the comment section. Have yourselves a blessed day. Please remember to keep your salvation, and if you've not yet gained it, seek it. There's no better time to begin than the present. Have yourselves a blessed day. Bye.